All right, I'm ready now. Let me see. Can everybody hear me? I didn't want to wait another 20 seconds. I was ready to go. How's everybody doing today? Tuesday. Tuesday of Christmas week. It is Tuesday of Christmas. I can't believe that it's already Christmas. It it feels like this year has just flown by. All right, I'm just getting everything together. Sorry. Oh, well, there goes the music. Let me get that back up. Just 1 second. Oh, there we go. Awesome, loud and clear. Hopefully clearer once I'm able to get a new microphone. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Black Jesus. So this week I decided that I'm not going to make a normal video. I put in a lot of effort in the last videos that I've done, and I think this week I'm just gonna take it easy. Maybe I'll do another live later on in the week, because I know when people have their days off and there's no school and everything, there's just a lot of sitting around, even though there might be relatives visiting or whatever, and maybe there'd be another opportunity to do another live. Hello, Sam. Well, Sam and Sandro. I don't know who's there. Not unless you both are there. So are people, like, what are you planning on doing this week? Anything special? Anything unique? Is this the first maybe Christmas that you're visiting with relatives because of the whole situation with the disease? I know last year was crazy with people, and I know this year there was people still pushing for lockdown stuff. Oh, it's just Sam. That's okay. Well, I'm glad that you're here, Sam. So this year it'll just be my boyfriend and I here at our house. We were thinking of going to visit his family. He lives he's from a town close by. Well, it's like 2 hours away from here. And we went there last weekend for a wedding of one of his friends, and I got to meet all of his close friends, and they're really awesome. It's really awesome to, when you meet somebody and you really, like, I feel this way with my boyfriend, that I would do the same if I was in a similar position, but it's good when you are in a relationship and you're so confident in that relationship, and you want to bring them into your life as much as possible and share them with all of your friends. And his friends were really welcoming. They were telling me when it was just when my boyfriend would go or whatever, they would say, I'm so happy that he's with somebody, and now that we're meeting you, and everything that he's told us about you, it's really good that it's you that's with him, and that was really awesome. And yeah, I would do the same. I feel that way with Adran, that I would share him with my family if that was an option. So we went to his friend's wedding, and so obviously here in Mexico it's still very Catholic in its traditions, and so it's normal, even if the person isn't a practicing Catholic, to have a Catholic wedding, and even to have a christening for all of the children, and to go through the whole ceremony. And it's actually really interesting, because the people will say things like, oh yeah, I don't believe, but it's what's expected. Like, I have to do it because it's what my family expects me to do, even if that's not necessarily part of their plans, their personal opinions or beliefs. And I think, like, I'm kind of torn, because I think that in an attempt to be independent and make our own histories and all of that, we've lost the ties that we've had to our past and traditions. Especially in the United States, there's not, people, some of the people who came from certain cultures, they still hold on to those traditions, but a lot of people, they disconnect with all of that from their past. Like, I don't know, somebody who, like, my family's Irish, and I mean, I guess the only thing that we brought over was Catholicism in my family. But I remember my grandmother, or my great grandmother, she still had tea. I mean, it's something simple, but traditions are like that sometimes. But she would have tea in the afternoon, because she's not from England, but that was still something that they did in Ireland, and it came from England, that type of tradition. But a lot of people don't have any of those ties with their past. So, I mean, I kind of see, like, well, it's kind of what's the cultural norm to do that, to have that type of wedding in the church with the priest and everything. But for a lot of people, it's like they're just putting on a face in front of their family. Like, we're the good Catholic couple that's starting a Catholic family, and it's all of that, but it's not gonna pan out like that. Not even the day after. But anyway, so we went, and it was in a church, and it was the first time that I've been to a mass since I've left. And it was bizarre. It was really bizarre being in the church. Well, not in the church, but during mass. It's funny because I mean, it was what I would have called it as a Novus Ordo mass. So part of it was in Spanish. It was secular. It was the new face of Catholicism, new in the sense of after the 60s. The congregation that I was a part of was before the 60s. That's the tradition that they followed. So there were a lot of things that I saw, and I was like, yeah. It was like all those same thoughts and opinions were starting to come back as I was watching. Like, oh, that priest is doing that, he shouldn't be doing that, and da da da. And I was saying things to Adran, who was next to me, like, oh, it's funny because the priest is saying this, but he should be doing this. And I was thinking, gosh, it's still so fresh. And but one thing that stood out so clearly to me was the fact that it was all a show. Like, the way that the priest was talking, he was, making a lot of jokes. He was trying to, like, connect with the couple and the families and make them laugh. And it was so unorganized. Like, it seemed like he hadn't even planned at all for the wedding. It was like, oh, we need to do this, and now we're going to do this. So I need people to, I don't know, read the lessons of the day. So I need 3 volunteers. And it's like, oh, you're going to read this. And then, looking through the missal, for the readings. And he's like, a reading from Matthew. Stuff like that. Did you see the Pope issued new restrictions this week against traditional masses? No, I did not, but I'm interested. Let me see. Pope Francis. Restricts Latin Mass. Okay, here we go. National Catholic Reporter. Pope Francis approves further restrictions on okay, no pop-ups. Come on. Approves further restrictions on Latin Mass to ensure adherence to Vatican II. Pope Francis has approved further clarifications regarding restrictions on the traditional Latin Mass. You know what? Let me just pull this up so we can all look at it. Hello. I have that possibility. Pope Francis has approved further clarifications regarding restrictions on the Latin Mass in an effort to ensure the liturgical form is irreversible and that liturgical celebrations adhere to the changes made up. The clarifications ban priestly ordinations and confirmations in the old rite and limit the frequency in which priests who receive a dispensation to celebrate can do so. Okay. Said that each norm has the sole purpose of preserving the gift of ecclesiastical communion with the Pope. It is a duty of the bishops to safeguard communion. The new guidelines enact an outright ban on priestly ordinations and confirmations according to the old rite. Well, this type of stuff has come up before. Let's see. I mean, that's not going to stop at least my former congregation from doing anything. It seemed like, to me, this wasn't the only motivation, but a lot of the drive and a lot of the, I don't want to say validation because it wasn't the only reason, but it almost is like a further assurance that you're doing something good, is that there's some sort of persecution. And that's something that, looking in the history of the Catholic Church, there's this tradition of persecution. So even though it's the Pope, my former community will take that as a type of persecution for what they're doing, which they consider to be the good, the true. And so these types of things don't rattle them as much as you would think. I don't know if that makes sense. I do want to look at Twitter and see see. Da da da. Where can I look? Well, I'll look at it later. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of drama. It is interesting, though, like, what does that mean for the communities that are accepted by Rome? Anyway, a lot of drama. So much drama. And of course, maybe something like this will be a unifying factor for all of the traditional communities, because it seems like when there's a certain level of peace between the communities, the traditional communities, and the Pope and Rome, then there's like infighting between the communities. So maybe something like this will be a unifying factor. I don't know. But it is funny that idea of being persecuted. I remember thinking that, like, oh, people see me like I'm weird, or, you know, our extended family doesn't accept us. And it's like, we must be doing something right if that's what's happening. And that's not always the case. It shouldn't be like a driving force. But anyway, it was very strange to be back in Mass, and it wasn't like it brought up like any sort of like, what's the word, like it didn't like trigger me. I hate using that word, but it wasn't like, you know, I didn't start hyperventilating, but it did give me a weird feeling. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has had that type of situations. I know my friend that I did the video with, Ryan, he would go back when he went home to visit. He would go to Mass with his family. And I'd like to maybe know what his ideas are on that. You know, it did bring up an interesting conversation, because I was talking with Adron, and I said, what would you think if I decided to just start going back to Mass? And he said, well, you know, I'd just accept it for what it was. And I mean, that's like, I don't want to give anyone hope because it's not something that, you know, I'm not even like teetering on the edge of it being a yes, but you know, that is always a possibility that in the future, you know, that question might come up where it's like, well, you know, I feel this yearning to go back. I you know, like there's something that's pulling me back, and I'm the type of person who's very upfront with those types of attractions and those feelings. And like, I don't want to be the type of person who, when they're confronted with an idea like that, they just say like, no, I can't go back. I can't accept that I have these thoughts and these desires, and that I can't do that, because then that would mean that I would have to, you know, then just seeing all the consequences, that means I'd have to do this, and I'd have to give up this, and I'm not that type of person. Like, if I have a thought, it's like, all right, let's talk about it. Let's think about it. Let's see, let's investigate. Were you nervous to go to a Mass again? Like, in a sense, I don't know, anxious a little bit, but it was also like I also told this to my boyfriend that if I had to go back to the mass that I was a part of, the community that I was a part of, then the anxiety levels would be skyrocketing. That would be nerve wracking. I mean, for a lot of other reasons, not just going to mass, but what that would entail. Probably knowing the people around me, like feeling the weight of their gaze upon me, probably knowing the priest, like all of that stuff. That would be a lot to have to deal with that. You know, it's funny. For a while, I was living here in Guadalajara. I was stationed at the church at a church, and the priest's house was right across the street from that, and then after I left, I was living in different parts. Since I've lived in Guadalajara, I think I've lived in 9 different places within 4 years. Well, 5 years, if you include the priest's house. Yeah, so I think 9, including that house. So I was moving around a lot, and all over in different parts of the city. And now I live with my boyfriend, but 2 apartments ago, I was living 1 street away from that street where the priest's house was, and 9 blocks from where the priest's house was. So I was so close. It was during the whole pandemic, so it wasn't like I was going out, but there was this like nervousness that like I'm gonna see somebody, and it wasn't a nervousness like I wanted to hide, but it was just like knowing what all of that would entail, because a lot of the people at that church, the priest told them that I went back home. They said, oh, he left and he went back to the United States, even though they knew that I left the priesthood, but they don't want to scandalize the people. They don't want the people to know that a priest left the priesthood. You know, they want them to think that I'm now at a church in the United States. Since then, I've met people from the church, the members of that church, and you know, after their shock of seeing me, like, what, you know, what's going on? And talking with them, then they realized what happened. And I did see people on the street when I was walking, and they came up to me and talked to me, and, you know, like, hi, Father, you know, like, what do I say? What's going on? Did you go to communion? No, I did not go to communion. Why don't you go make a confession and ask to join a monastery? They'd probably let you say mass after a while. Calvert, because I don't want to. Do you think that the church's sex abuse scandal is, at least in part, related to its more restrictive views and on sex, probably? I mean, I'm not a professional, so like I don't really know the connections between a lot of different things. There's people out there, including I just watched an interview or a talk from Milo Yiannopoulos, and he was talking and saying that there's no evidence, there's no, you know, statistics or medical evidence, but probably there's a strong connection between homosexuality and the type of abuse that went on in the church. And you know, listening to that, it's like, okay, that's a common idea from Catholicism, because in their mind, in my mind before too, anything that's out of the norm, which is the union of man and woman who are married, is considered outside of the law of God or unnatural. And so there's a lot of throwing everything into the same bucket or seeing things in steps. Like, well, this is closer to that ideal of a man and a woman inside marriage, so it's not as bad. It's more natural. It's like one step away. It's like, fornication or something like that. But then as you go out, in their mind, they put like distance to the ideal. So obviously those types of abuse it's out there. But they consider like, oh, it's between a priest and a boy, so that's homosexual, right? So, but it's worse, but it's still homosexual, so then homosexuality must be kind of a gateway to that, or connected to that. And from what I've seen in studies is that it doesn't have to do with homosexuality at all. It's to do with power. I'll be right back. My dog wants to go outside. And now I'm gonna have to let him come back in. I'm gonna have to let him in. I couldn't leave the door open because my cat's down there, and the cat is very curious about being outside. Actually, he got out one night, and that was miserable trying to get him back in the house, but so be it. So I don't think it has to do, anyway, to get back to Anton's question, I don't think it has anything to do with like putting limits or restrictions. I don't know if that's like a good language to do. I don't know, but putting limits on sexual activity, or the idea of sex, like a suppression, I don't think that necessarily leads to that extreme. But anyway, is there a gym in the basement of St. Thomas Aquinas Seminary? No, there's not. Well, maybe there is in the new one. And I don't know about Father Carlisle, what he does in his spare time. Alright, so Billie Eilish, so just to kind of switch subjects a little bit, Billie Eilish came out with something really super interesting, and we'll look at it. We'll look at Entertainment Tonight, a great source for celebrity news and gossip. But we'll look at a video talking about what Billie Eilish said a few days ago. And it's very interesting. And then it led me down a rabbit hole of watching videos about the subject. And um, trying to wrap my head around it. So, we will be talking about porn. There's nothing explicit, but it will be mentioned over and over and over again. So, uh, if that's something that maybe people around you don't want to listen to, or it's not appropriate, then that's up to you. But just to warn you. Did you leave the priesthood because you couldn't bench press 300 like most SSPX priests? uh, Name me 10 that could do that. Alright. So let's look at this video. I will have to stop it and pause for a second because of copyright issues. So I'm just warning you. If you want to watch the full video without any sort of commentary, go ahead. But here on this live stream, we have to do it like that.
Eilish is getting real about her experience with porn.
What? Like, it's so weird.
During an appearance on SiriusXM's The Howard Stern Show, the bad guy singer reveals that she started watching porn when she was just 11 years old.
Billie Eilish started watching porn when she was 11 years old. I've never liked Howard Stern. These people that are like, we're going to get real. We're going to talk about the real stuff. And it's always, like, very inappropriate. It always ends up, but that's the real stuff. We're going to talk about the nitty gritty. We're going to, and it's, I don't know. There's a few interviews that I've seen, or clips from ones that have been interesting, but in general, not a fan. But anyway.
Because it made her feel like, quote, one of the guys. Now at 19, Billie is reflecting on that time and says, quote, as a woman, I think porn is a disgrace. So how many times do we hear these things being said now? This is not a common talking point. With the uprising of OnlyFans and all of this like sexual expression. I mean, this is nothing new, but it's like this almost like, I mean, if we're talking about this like the feminine aspect of it as a woman, this feminist version of pornography, of sexuality, is really coming out strong, and we don't hear these types of perspectives. So as a woman, I think porn is a disgrace. I used to watch a lot of porn, to be honest. I think it really destroyed my brain, and I feel incredibly devastated that I was exposed to so much porn. How often do we hear people saying this? I think porn is a disgrace. I used to watch a lot of porn. Winner doesn't hold back, also pointing out the false image these adult videos create. Quote, I'm so angry that porn is so loved, and
I'm so angry that porn is so loved. It's almost like one of those things that it's like everybody does, but not does porn, but everyone watches it kind of thing. Like, like everyone's watching it, but in secret. And no one wants to say anything. It's like people, even the people who are not restricted by the suppressive bond of a religious structure,
they're still like that. It's still something that they do in private. That's interesting. Why? Why did they do it in private? There's something about it that people are ashamed of. Ashamed of doing. Even sex in general. You know, it's not common that you walk down the street and you see a couple doing it right there. There's something about it that people keep private. But it's almost like what I was seeing the last video with my psychologist with the cognitive dissonance type of thing. But she was saying that it's like our mouth is saying one thing, like, oh, we have to do what we want, we have to, you know, validate our desires, and, you know, to whatever, you know, no judgment, do whatever you want, but then the reality is how we act is completely different. Oh no, there's a battle going on. Battle going on in the comment section. I knew that this time would come. That's what happens when you get out there and start talking about what you actually think and don't hide behind, you know, pseudonyms and pictures of, I think that's Saint Joseph. Anyway, yeah, so I'm so angry that porn is so loved. And I'm so because love, even if people aren't like, I love porn. I love porn. No one says that. I love porn. But love is in the action, the giving of yourself to something, the attention, the emphasis, the thought. And I'm so angry at myself for thinking that it was okay. I was so surprised to hear this. I was so surprised. You don't hear this from someone. The way that vaginas look in porn is effing crazy. No vaginas look like that. Women's bodies don't look like that. We don't come like that. I mean, that's one perspective, seeing the impossible standards and you thinking that that's normal, but she's not talking about just that.
Crazy. No vagina like that. We don't know how watching porn impacted her intimate experiences. She says, quote, the first few times I had sex, I was not saying no to the things that were not good. It was because I thought that's what I was supposed to be attracted to. On dating now, Billie says it's really hard to meet people, and get this, last year she thought she'd be single for the rest of her life, but she's since gotten over it. The bad guy singer has historically been very private about personal matters.
I'm speechless. Speechless.
In her Apple
They just said these random clips that have nothing to do with what they're saying. All right, I think that's enough of Billie. It's just interesting. So then I was looking on YouTube and I was like, what? Because you can always tell like what is the opinion that you should have in the culture by which videos are promoted first. So if you put in a topic like, I don't know, is pornography good? Or is pornography bad? You know, the videos that come up are going to be the ones that you should be watching and you should agree with, because they're the ones that always say the right thing. But actually, when I was looking at pornography, a lot of it was on addiction, porn addiction. And I couldn't find a lot of videos on focusing on the positive aspects of watching pornography. So there was actually another very reliable source, TMZ. They had a short interview with Randy Spears, who is a retired porn star. Okay. But he defends Billie Eilish's comments.
Listen, I happen to agree with her.
Isn't that funny? A lot of the porn stars, after they leave the industry, they look back at that time with disdain. I remember seeing an interview where a guy said, "Oh yeah, now I just don't want to do anything sexual with anybody. It destroyed any sort of good connection that I could have with someone, even someone that I love, because I can't see it like that."
When we're that young, our brains don't have the capacity to digest that. Who in their right mind would want their 7-year-old daughter or son watching some woman with 7 guys? It's pretty despicable stuff, and
Neo, what's up? It's Saint Philomena. I'm sorry. There's something going on with homosexuality isn't observed in the natural law. I don't have to explain it. He had, let's use the right verb. He had 7 years of formation, and his own consciousness from the formation accused him. There's something fundamentally wrong with porn. It just seems like you're poorly trying to justify it because you're coping. After 7 years of formation, let your own conscious... Alright. Alright, everyone else who's watching, have I said anything to the effect of justifying watching porn? Have I made any sort of moral analysis on porn? I think that if anything, I've leaning towards negatively viewing porn. I think that's what I've given so far in this video. And this is what happens. I make a video of something that these Catholics who accuse me of all this other stuff, so I say something that they agree with. But they can't accept the fact that I'm saying something that they agree with. Because if they say, "Oh, I agree with him," it's not, "I agree with Francis." No, I agree with the ex-priest, the sinner, the one that I have to reject. And I've received so many comments like that of people acting like that, and it's stupid. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm obviously not saying it to appease them. I'm not here to say something to win somebody over. I'm just here saying what I think. And if it happens to be something that I thought 10 years ago, okay, what's wrong in that? It's just, it's so interesting. I mean, luckily, the amount of people that make those types of assumptions about me and what I say are like this. They hardly exist on my channel, which is fine, good. Even if they came, that's fine. But I just want to say that. And I'm not going to block anybody from talking. I'm not going to ban them from my channel, not unless they're being very aggressive and very annoying, like there was somebody who was constantly on all of my social medias sending things all the time. And it was like, okay, obviously, like, and I did try to talk to this person. I was like, okay, do you want to, you're saying these things. What, did you watch what I did here? Did you, you're commenting on this video that I made, but you're saying something that I agree with, that I said in the video. So obviously you didn't watch the video. You're just see my name, know what I did, and then just accuse me and think he left the church, so obviously he agrees with that. But that's the thing, like I was saying before. I was just reading some of the comments, sorry. That's one thing that I was saying before. So, Neo, it's time for some mods. Then the band can take the... Yeah, because that's what it is. It's like what I was saying about with what happened with the Pope. Just now putting more restrictions on the traditional Mass. It's like, and having that victim perspective. It's like, we're being persecuted. It's like, I'm just going to say this stuff, which is not going to have any effect. I'm not going to change my opinion because somebody on the comments says, you need to do this. You need to, like, especially at this point in my life, I listen to opinions of people that I respect, which aren't necessarily people who confirm me in my beliefs. No. I've talked to people that I don't agree with. I've talked to priests since I've left. I'm keeping an open ear, but I'm not going to change because someone's like, you need to go to confession. I mean, it seems ridiculous to do that. But then if you ban them, then they're like, this is what happens when you say the truth. This is what happens. You get persecuted. Sorry if I just screamed in someone's ear. I mean, I don't know. It's like you have to balance it out. You have to think, like, you obviously don't want to just surround yourself with people who just say what you want to hear in your ear, who never challenge you. You don't want people like that all the time. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be best friends with someone that you despise, who's constantly telling you that you're wrong and, that you need to change. But to have someone that you respect who's like, to call you out or to bring up new possibilities or to question things that you say, that's good. And that's a good friend too. Not just like, oh yeah, you should continue to smoke. Or I know that's a stupid, you should continue to go out every single weekend to go to the club and get hammered. And then, yeah, you should, sleep around and use Grindr. Yeah, that's so great. That's sexual independence. Yeah. Oh, you're doing everything that you should be doing. Yeah. No, you want someone to be like, why do you need to do that? Have you ever thought, like, what, did someone to challenge you? The small number of people you say that will your good and want to help you, you can and will be saved if you take the necessary means for salvation. I know you remember the peace of being in Mary. If I was a bad person, I would make a joke about that, but I respect my past, and I respect the figures of my past, and I respect other people too, so I'm not going to say stupid things. Yeah, what does that mean? Like, do these people want me to... Oh. Well, I guess that's done. But do these people want me to... just go back and pretend? Like, hi guys, I went to confession. I did what you wanted me to do, even though I don't believe, and I just said the words just to do it because you told me to do it. Is that good enough? Is that what you wanted? Those type of people always seem to lack awareness of the situation. They make these crazy statements as if they think that just changes everything. It's very condescending of them. We all know exactly the arguments they are going to make. Be careful, friends. You're gonna being sarcastic. I'm never sarcastic. No, I think I'm clearly saying what I want to say, and sometimes I'm sarcastic, but I hope that that's clear. Their stones are ready. So no, it's okay because I also don't want to be. I also don't want to attack them because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be on the side of the truth and to know the truth and want to help others to find the truth. I know what it's like, and I know that passion and that zeal. I mean, to be honest, I never went on people's lives that I didn't agree with and make. Hello. All right, let me just fix everything back up again. Alright. What did I miss? Okay. Sorry. Let me just... Alright. So I forget what I was saying. Okay. Sorry guys. Power outage. Real life. Actually, I don't know why, but recently there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on with the internet. All right, let me just I'm trying to okay. Oh. I don't want to go too. Oh, sorry. Wait a second. Okay. All right. I think that's all that I can do for now. So I forget what I was saying. It must have been so important. So let's. Why does it look like my face is bleached out? Let me just turn this down a little bit. I don't understand. I'll have to play with that more later. So if you're still here, hello. We were talking about people making comments on the channel. But you know, like I was saying, I don't think like, oh, you know, people are attacking me, so that must mean that I'm saying the right thing. Because honestly, it's like it doesn't matter if people say something that agrees with me or not. I mean, that's really how it is. I was talking about friends that are in your life and they just constantly agree with you. It's like, I mean, that's fine. Like, maybe you just have the same opinions on things, but people who constantly validate you in everything that you say and everything that you do, it's like, I prefer someone who's straight up with me and is like, what are you doing? Why'd you do that? And that's the thing. These people, I don't want to say these people because everyone is different. Man, I'm trying to. Sorry. So I'm trying to. I try to say something and they're like, you need to do this, you need to do that, instead of like, why didn't, or why did you do this? Why do you say this? Why? And and it seems like if I really cared about somebody, that would be more of the line of dialogue that I would go by. I would be like, all right, especially somebody that it's like, you know, somebody that I assume had a good knowledge of religion. I would say, okay, maybe me telling them things that the most basic Catholic knows is expected of them probably isn't the right line of thought to go. All right. So there's somebody here who did something that maybe I don't agree with. Maybe that's confusing to me. It happens. It happens all the time. Instead of just attacking that person, instead of just going after that person and telling them what they need to do, if you really respect them, you would say, let's sit down and talk. I want to understand where you went, what your line of thought. That seems more productive. And of course, I'm not the type of person who, you know, there's a lot of people out there who, if you tell them what they need to do, they'll give you the finger and do the exact opposite. I mean, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. I'm not that type of person. I don't give the finger to people. I just ignore them, which is kind of like a ghosting finger. I give them the ghost finger. No, I'm like, all right, that's what they said. That's how they talk to me. So I don't respect that. So I'm gonna move on. Sam, stop spamming the thread with your shirtless profile pic. You're causing him to fall with your pot belly. That doesn't sound very nice. You know, people like that exist. Just because they don't agree with what you say, then it gives them the right to talk to you like a piece of shit. Just because you don't agree with them, then it's like, oh, you're below me. That means I can punch down to you. The gaslighting many Christians do to those who lose faith is unbelievable, but also understandable. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like someone like me, and I've never given the impression of like attacking people from my previous community or other people who believe ever. It's because I understand, because I was in their shoes once, because I went from there to here, and I still remember what it was like to be there. So when people say things or people have a certain reaction, I'm like, well, yeah, even though I probably wouldn't have said those things, yeah, I get it. I get where they're coming from. But do they give me the same understanding. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because I have to live with myself. I have to live with my own decisions. And if I'm trying to be understanding and open, then that's good, because that's the type of person I want to be. Even though I'm ex-Catholic, even though I'm ex this and anti, no. In their perspective. Nothing wrong with my picture. Very interested how you were trying to convert us and throw insults on appearance at the same time. Gaslighting means to get someone to question objective reality. Your subjective feelings aren't objective reality, no matter how strong they are. I was told you must have missed something. As if I just had true understanding. Yes, oh my gosh. Listen, this is something that I've tried to explain to some people, that, with all of my education and having the depth, like, I don't want to say that I reached any like saintly point or anything like that, but like the depth that I dove into with not only just knowledge, but even just the spiritual aspect. Like, I was somebody who went on extra retreats if I could. I even did one year, I did 3 retreats. I did a retreat for one of the orders that I was going to take in the seminary. I did a week-long retreat, and I did a 30-day silent retreat. No talking for 30 days. And it wasn't something that was mandatory. Maybe it is now, but at that time it wasn't mandatory. It was something that, yeah, everyone should do it once in their life type of thing, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to do is not just the expectation, like just over the line. I wasn't someone who would have ever been satisfied with, just going to mass on Sundays but not praying during the week. No, I was someone who actually tried to live Catholicism in my life and eat, sleep, breathe, everything Catholicism. That's why I went to the seminary. It wasn't just a joke. It wasn't just a show. I mean, people might think it was because of what happened after, which is fine. But I know why I did it. I know what my intentions were. I know what my desire was. And I know that they were good in that world. I know that they were not just the expectation. They were something generous. It's something that's been difficult for me since leaving, is to actually look at myself and say, yeah, you're a good guy. For so long, I had considered myself a sinner and seen, this is the level where I need to be, and this is where I've reached, so I need to go. I'm never enough, never good enough. And now I can look back and say, Francis, you did an amazing thing, something that maybe some people who are attacking me now weren't brave enough to do. To attempt to dedicate their life to God, which is something that's extreme, especially nowadays. And I made it. That's something to look back and admire. And we should all do that in our past. We shouldn't look back and say, gosh, I went so far, and the manipulation that, no, look at the intention, look at that movement that still exists now and that you can apply in different ways and that are good. I've known people who studied for a specific profession, and in reaching that goal, they discovered that it was not right for them and quit and did something completely different. You just moved on. Yeah, but that's true from a very outside perspective, but the thing is, even though it's 7 years, I think we all can realize that 7 years goes by like that. Um, but it's a from year. I mean, you go in with the intention to go all the way. That's implied, but there's a like you have to give a positive intention. You can still step out, but a positive intention. The third year that you're there. Well, yeah, third year that you're there. It's not like you can always back out up until the last 2 years. Then you're in. Um, but they always say when you go to the seminary, you have to go with the intention of making it at the end. It's not just I'm going to test type of thing. It's like I'm gonna see what this is all about. No, if you don't go in 100%, if you don't go in all the way generous and accepting of then that's a bad way of going to the seminary. That's not maybe not a bad, but it's not the best way. It's not the ideally Christian way of doing it. So that's interesting. I've had people say that I lost the faith. I like to say that the faith lost me. That isn't. I mean, I think some people can look back and be like, you know, I probably didn't do enough in that. Like, in order to, like in that structure, there's certain acts that you need to do, a certain movement of your whole being has to be in a direction. And if you're not doing that, if you're kind of half-assing it, it's like if you eventually leave, it's like, well, I never really tried. I never really gave it my all. I never did it. So I'm sure there's people who can look back and say, yeah, I lost the faith. I did because I never really had it, or I never really tried to apply it in my life, which is their story. And that's okay. That's something that they have to look back on and think about, obviously. I mean, we always have to look at our actions and understand what was going on and what our intentions were and what we wanted and all of that. But other people, and I can relate to this, they, it's almost like walking. They just hit a brick wall out of nowhere. Let's see. Ex-Catholic. That's very specific. Hi, I'm ex-Catholic, and I'm on I Am Judas Project. What a funny group that would be. Also, I've been thinking through my own deconstruction. I'm not sure most people can come to faith or lose faith unless having a traumatic experience. Come to faith or lose faith. I have noticed that, like what I was saying before at the beginning of this video with Milo Yiannopoulos, he was an interesting figure in my life because there was kind of like we came from two sides and then we crossed and then now we're on the side that we left type of thing. Not exactly. I will never be that, and I never want to be that. But he was describing like he had reached like the low point, and then that's when he reverted back to religion. And I see this like pendulum swinging back and forth of people going from one extreme to another. I think that's part of being human. I mean, it happens so often that it's like, well, it has to be part of what we're made of. But it is interesting because it's like, how am I going to act if, right when I'm about to die? Like if I'm, I don't know. I mean, it can be something like within a few minutes or, maybe I get sick, like with cancer or something that I can't heal from. It's like, what's going to be my reaction there? Is that going to be the moment when I go back to religion? It's interesting to think about. And is that a bad thing? I mean, I'm not someone who's like, if you decide to leave religion, then you have to decide till the second you die. Like, I'm not, no. Why? Why be like that? With all of your education, you are ignorant enough to think confession rids you of habits of sin and not penance. When did I ever say that? But that's okay. Knowing this fact, I can explain losing faith, but it's not possible to get people of faith to fully understand. I am open to being wrong about that. Good. I mean, I'm not saying that I think you're wrong, but I'm just saying, like, that's a good perspective to have in general about everything. You were on the path to sanctity, but the desire of being treated like a bag of flesh and having unnatural tendencies undid your progress. I mean, have you looked into my story? Like, there was a lot of stuff going on. There was a lot going on at that time. It wasn't like I was like, I need to leave so I can have gay sex all the time. But that's okay if you want to believe that. If you think that that's going to help you sleep at night, that's okay. The fact is, faith is not just a rational assent to the truth. It's a grace. So we're going to have a discussion on a mystery. Okay. So just say it like it's a fact, that it's something that's like, duh, and then we'll all just be like, oh, thank you, now I know. Thanks for doing this, by the way, very helpful. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if someone can point to a moment when I was sitting here like, I know everything and you guys are stupid. No, never. And I think that's why I have a lot of mixed people that are coming to my channel and talking to me like, oh my gosh, like, what, you're actually saying that? Or like, I can't believe someone's actually saying that. All right, I need to fix this stupid lighting. I'm like a goat. Whoa! I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But what do you guys think? Like, what do you... Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. I'll play with it later. Oh my goodness, look at that. I'm like Casper. What am I supposed to do with that? Am I supposed to be right on the camera? Oh, that's better. I'll just be very close. We'll have a very intimate conversation where you can look into my eyes. But I have to look down to see what you're saying. I love your chats because you are so interesting and say things in a completely non-judgmental way, no matter what side people are on. Because, you know, and this is something that I learned from my past, I learned from religion, is that even if I think that I'm right about certain things and I come face to face with somebody who doesn't have that perspective, who am I to say that I'm the one who discovered that truth? Like, I'm the inventor, I'm the creator of that truth, and I'm the one who caused myself to come into contact with that truth. Everything that I've learned most of everything that I've learned, at least the most important things, were given to me by my parents, by people in my life who I looked up to, who gave me advice. Those people put me on the path to have that type of perspective and things that I'm grateful to have now. But I'm not here in a position saying that I'm the only one, or I'm the origin of all these things. Sorry, I need to bring some music back on. We need to bring it back down. It's okay, everybody. Life's not bad. We're gonna make it through. Yeah. I wanted to talk about porn. I don't know what you guys... It's your fault that I'm talking about all of this.
Jerking off to a...
Oh. That was another video I wanted to watch.
So this week is Sexual Health Week, which is run by...
Okay, here's... I want to look at this. If you're still here... I don't know. Let's see, what emoji can you put in the chat? Someone that I follow, they always put roses in the chat. I don't know, we have to find an emoji for this chat, for this channel. I don't know what it can be. I'll let you guys decide. Alright, so this is somebody, this is a, let's see. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. It's distracting. So this is somebody, Hannah Winton. The benefits of porn. I know there was a particular moment that I wanted to go to, and I wrote it down. I'm trying to prepare for these things. I put in work. Alright, let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, I already exited out. Alright, I think it was...
the ways in which we can combat some of the problems with porn, and these are things that are advocated by lots of sexual health charities, including Brooke and FPA. First of all,
you know, don't be afraid to listen to different opinions. Don't be like if you have an opinion about something, why not listen to another opinion? I mean, it's either going to make you more solid in your own opinion because you're like, well, I can see through the logic of that person's argument, it doesn't make sense, so that gives me more reason to stay where I am. It's the safest place to be. Or it can challenge you, and that's not a bad thing. A squid? Oh, a squid. I'm not so sure about that. All right, let's see.
well, obviously, comprehensive sex and relationships education in schools. This way we can allow young people to have a healthy idea of what sex and relationships should look like.
Yeah, I don't like this part. She's talking about, like, you know, having more sex education in the school, so, and having a way for people to, the kids, not people, the kids, to have communication about pornography with a professional. I mean, are they going to have a psychologist at every school? No, it's going to be a teacher who might not be that qualified, but anyway, you know, to open dialogue Like, it's very open. It doesn't seem like anything concrete, but it sounds good. It sounds like we want to do something. It sounds like we want to be productive, but in reality, it ends up being nothing. Open dialogue. We're talking about kids. Maybe they don't want to talk about pornography with a teacher, with an adult.
Young people to have a healthy idea of what sex and relationships should look like, and so then they can think critically when it comes to the
Think critically? Sorry, I have to get up close. Think critically? You know, I'm sure that most, especially boys, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old boys, are not really critically thinking about pornography or sex in general.
porn that they watch. And this kind of education needs to not shame people for watching porn and instead create open lines of dialogue, so if anybody is worried about the effects of porn, then they
If anyone's worried about it, then we can talk.
know how to seek help.
Instead of listening to the already facts that have come out from studies that may introduce problems with pornography, instead of looking at that now, instead of introducing these new ideas, we're just gonna wait to see if anyone has a problem with it.
And there are people there that they can talk to. In the last couple of years, the UK government has banned certain kinds of porn production.
Okay. Let's listen to.
Coercion, pressure that contributes to them. And so whilst I think that there are some probably positive side of porn, just to switch up the narrative a little bit.
Switch up the narrative, because we only hear about the negative things. Let's talk about the positive.
Also, I'll note that this list is about the positives of porn consumption, talking about
It's like it's food.
porn industry and the
Sorry, I keep
production
pausing.
is kind of an entirely separate conversation. So this is about watching, consuming, viewing porn. So number one, it is arousing. I mean, we shouldn't hide.
It's arousing. Really? It's arousing. Porn is arousing, guys. Did you know?
From the fact that a lot of people are turned on by porn, and sexual excitement and pleasure feel great, and we shouldn't shame people.
So does eating 50 well, maybe not 50. So does eating a burger every day. It feels really good. That's not an argument. I mean, maybe some people are on that level. Like, you know, you do it because it feels good. Whatever you do in life, do it because it feels good. Like, I think, well, I don't know. I don't want to give any generalization, but when people go to the gym and they, you know, they do so much for a goal, you know, they put themselves through practically useless torture. It's practically useless. I mean, if every day you're working in the farm and you're doing manual labor and then you end up with the ideal body that you want, you know, okay, well, it had a practical purpose and, you know, but going to the gym is painful. It's hell. But you do it. Why? Because you want something else that's better. Something that makes that temporary pain worth it. I mean, there's so many examples. Women going through labor, you know, there's just millions of examples. And I think humans can see that.
People for that. Number two, it's relaxing. Different people.
I don't know if I'm going to get anything out of this video. It's relaxing. Okay. So is sitting on a chair. So is laying down on the sofa.
People.
So is a cigarette. A cigarette's relaxing. Should you do it?
Like to do different things in order to relax.
So far we can apply this to porn or cigarette smoking. All these examples.
Some people, at the end of a stressful day, it can be really nice to unwind by watching some porn and masturbate.
Some people do it at work or on Zoom calls, and they're public, and then they get in trouble, but they're still online, or they're still on air.
3, it can be really useful for LGBTQ plus folks.
It can be helpful for LGBTQ folks. If you're still here, thank you for being here. Give the video a like if you want. I don't want to force you to do anything you don't want to do, but I appreciate it. It does help. Everything helps. I don't know if you guys realize, but some people, they do this whole social media thing, this YouTube thing, the Instagram, the Facebook, all of that, and they pay money to get subscribers. They pay money to promote their stuff that they're doing. And then they quickly get people. I have not done that. First of all, because I don't have any money. Second of all, because I don't want just anybody to come to the channel and subscribe and like the channel and watch my stuff. I don't want just anybody to do it. I mean, everyone's welcome to, but that's not the purpose. The purpose isn't the numbers, like getting to a certain point. No. Like, even if, you know, the people that are here now, like, I appreciate that. Okay. Let's not do that. We're gonna say goodbye to you. Oh, some people. I always get this like random Indian account that always puts a link on all of my videos, and I'm just waiting when I post a video, and then it always comes on. Well, it's a different account that does it, of course, but they put a link to some, you know, scam. Funny. I forgot what I was saying, so let's keep going.
Or representation of non-hetero or non-cis bodies, desires, or relationships is
Let's go back.
non-hetero or
Let's go back a little bit more.
it can be really useful for LGBTQ plus folks.
Very useful. Useful. All right, let's keep that in mind.
Any education or representation of non
Education, representation. I mean, we're logically following the structure of a sentence and an argument. So it's useful because of education. I don't know what she's going to say about that, and representation. Okay, so that's why it's useful.
hetero or non-cis bodies, desires, or relationships.
Non-cis bodies. What's the difference between a cis male body and a gay male body? Maybe accidental qualities. Maybe one is chubbier than the other one. What's different?
Relationships is often absent or limited in schools and in the media. So often porn can help to educate but also normalize a lot of the things.
Yeah, let's normalize gangbangs. Yeah, let's do that. Let's normalize that. And especially this is you ready? Oh, stupid light. So for me, this is a good time to bring in my own experience. So, for me, I had a problem with porn when I was growing up. I think around 14 or so, and it started. And obviously, it was a constant battle because I was trying to be a good Catholic, so I was trying to not watch porn, which I was successful sometimes. But that happened, and it was very common, and I didn't realize how common it was because no one talks about any of that. No one tells you, like, actually, this is a common problem even within, the members here at the church. No, they make you feel that, like, you're watching porn? What are you? How could you? You're a Christian. You're a child of God. And you're like, oh shoot, I am probably the worst person in this community. So, yeah, so that happened, but also because my parents are both nurses, and I was told about sex by them. I wasn't taught at school, and they were, they're both nurses, so it was very clinical, which is, how it should be, at least to a simple mind. And it was broken up into parts, but very soon, this is just a common reality even inside the bubbles of very strict communities. Those porn, sex in general, like, you talk about it, like, kids talk about it, like, you not unless you, like, close yourself off physically from any outside influence, all that stuff's going to come up eventually, and probably sooner than is healthy, especially for a kid. So the majority of what I was taught was through porn or through books that I've read or stuff like that. The clinical version was through my parents, but all the rest was through porn, and that's really healthy, right? To know, to be educated by porn, right? Isn't that healthy? Isn't that, like, a good perspective to have? And especially because I knew from a very young age that I was attracted to men. Obviously, that was the type of pornography that I was heading towards. Even though there was a moment when I tried to force myself to watch heterosexual porn because I was told that that was a way to become heterosexual. Someone told me that, or I heard about it, or something like that. But I thought, if I force myself to watch heterosexual porn, I'll start to appreciate the female body, and then I'll learn to be attracted to it, and then messed up. So, I was watching gay porn, and that was my first exposure to gay anything. Obviously, I saw gay people out in the world, but to anything sexual, that was my first experience. Like, this is it. This is the norm. This is normal. All of this. Even if you look at heterosexual porn, how many people are exposed to heterosexual porn, and that's the first time that they come face to face with it. They see it. They're affected by it physically, and they're taught how to react, how how to act through the porn. Oh, it's for adults to just relax, and you had a really stressful day, and you just want to go. The reality, adults can do whatever the hell they want. I mean, whatever. Go for it, and hopefully you understand that it's not benefiting you, but go for it. But the reality is, the children, children exist. It's not just, you gotta let adults do. Children are affected by this. We have to open a dialogue, for people who might have a problem with their 7-year-old child being exposed to porn. Really? In a lot of ways, in my past, in my childhood, I had to grow up and step into shoes that I was too young to step into. I mean, every family has issues like that, but why would you want a child who's not mentally there be exposed to all of this? Because when I come home, I want to relax. Because it feels good. Oh, it feels so good. All right. Great. And the children? Because guess what? A lot of children watch porn. Especially now with phones. And how many kids have phones nowadays? Statistics on children watching. Oh shit! Sorry. Shoot. Watching porn. This is guard child. I don't know what that is. Guard child protecting children in the digital age. Alright, I don't know about this. Just because you can find a statistic doesn't mean that it's good, a good statistic. Let me go to another more, the BBFC. Alright, so this is England. No, let's not go to Purify Your Gaze. Alright, something from BBC. So this is for children. Alright, let me see. Majority of young people's first time watching pornography was accidental, with over 60% of children ages 11 through 13 who had seen pornography saying their viewing of pornography was unintentional. So not even just kids wanting to go. It's just coming across it. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the majority, even if it's just like between 50 and 70%. That's a lot of kids. Think of the children. I don't know. Alright, let's keep watching this person. Let's keep watching Hannah. Let's see. Hannah, keep talking.
The LGBTQ folks experience but don't find represented elsewhere. 4. You can discover what you like. There are so
You can discover what you like. Well, I didn't know, but after watching porn, I realized that I only like being, I'm trying to be PG, being with 7 men in a dirty, grungy bathroom at the bottom of a club. Thank you, porn, for telling me exactly what help me figure out exactly what I want. Thank you. I would have never known if you didn't help enlighten me.
So many different kinds of sexual acts out there that different people are into. So perhaps porn could be a source of inspiration and self-discovery. 5. Porn can benefit your relationships. Watching porn...
Okay. This is the one that interests me. This is the one that I wanted to hear. I want to hear what the justification is.
With a partner could add an extra element to your sex life, but it can also work as an icebreaker in order to be able to talk and communicate about things like your sexual desires and your boundaries. And
Well, I don't know about you, but that wasn't very convincing. Let me listen to that again.
watching porn with a partner could add an extra element to your sex life, but
it can add an extra element, like I'll be thinking of the person on the porn instead of you. Is that what you want? I mean, I guess it just... I'm trying to keep an open mind. Not open to these reasons. I mean, they're very... they're not convincing. They're not convincing me. But... yeah, I don't know. It depends on... I don't know. For me personally, you know what it depends on? It depends on what you think sex is for. If you think sex is for just for personal gratification, then there will be a list of possibilities for you. If you think that it's for a connection with someone, then there's another list of possibilities. If you think that it's an expression of love that you have with someone, like a giving of yourself and a receiving of the other person and having this connection, this mutual connection, then there's another list of possibilities. So I guess it all depends on what you think sex is. I wasn't raised in any religion. I thought everyone's dad had a secret stash. Yeah, probably. I think so. You know, there's a lot of things that I learned about people, fathers that I looked up to when I was growing up, that people afterwards were like, yeah, you didn't know that this was going on, or you didn't know that this was happening, because everyone just keeps everything so secret. Porn isn't realistic. So realistic in the sense of realistic in the sense of it doesn't represent reality, like it doesn't give a good representation of what it is supposedly representing. Is that what you mean? Because if that's the case, I agree. They are not convincing reasons at all. That is true. What happened to the other guys? I was having fun with the comments. Jean-Luc, the Frenchman. At this stage of your life, what do you think happens when you die? That's a deep question. Yeah, man. Well, because I don't know, I'm not going to say that I think something, because I don't know. I don't know. I think they got scared off. Well, I mean, I wasn't like punching them in the face, I was just expressing the situation, what was happening. This chat was getting kind of fun. Yeah, maybe we'll have more people pop on.
Also work as an icebreaker in order to be able to talk and communicate about things.
You see that you see what that person's doing, you know, with I was just going to give a really bad example. I don't think I can say that. Oh yeah. I mean, I appreciate that. Offering me a rosary. When someone says that to me, I look at that and I'm like, that person is going, not only just thinking about me at that moment, but is planning on thinking about me again later. And they want the best for me. Like, that's amazing. Like, we live in a world of selfish people. So when someone says, I'm going to pray for you, tonight I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to say a rosary for you, I'm like, holy cow. Like, who am I to have someone think about me later on and do something where they think is going to benefit me like that? Something that they don't have to do, but they want to because they care about me, some stranger. Wow.
Like your sexual desires and your boundaries. And number 6.
See what that person's doing? Never. See what that person's doing? Don't even think about it. Nope. Stop looking. Nope. We're not going to do that.
Having sex with yourself and watching porn.
Having sex with yourself. So now we're calling masturbation sex.
Is a lot less hassle than having sex with somebody else. Perhaps less likely to be disappointing. When we talk about porn, we often mainly talk about videos online, but obviously there are loads of other different kinds of material that can be classified
like
as
what,
porn.
Hannah?
So you have
Tell me.
literature, a lot of
Literature. No, I'm not going to make fun of her accent. I love British accent so much. I love it so much. Anyone can say anything, even if it's something that like I just don't agree with, and I'll just, oh really? Okay.
erotic fiction, and now that I think about it, there must be like erotic audiobooks so you can like listen. Are there like erotic podcasts? Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. The possibilities are endless. Alright, I'm done with her. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much.
It's like Treasure Island.
Okay. Yes. If you know whose voice that is, that's who we're listening to next. I don't know. I like Jordan Peterson. I mean, I feel like he's somebody that has so much more knowledge than me that like you can't help but just sit and listen and just absorb. It's like being with someone like the wise man of the tribe. You know, you just go to them, and even if eventually you don't think the way that they think or whatever, just their experience and their knowledge is awe-inspiring. I've watched documentaries on porn, and it affects a lot of people in a negative way. Couples are expected to act like porn stars. Kids are exposed to porn at an early age, and it affects their development. Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, we can talk. There's... Let me see.
A slew.
Oh, yeah, it's this video. I mean, this is a whole other topic, talking about what chemically happens. Maybe we won't watch that. But yeah, there's this whole video. Maybe I'll put it down below in the description. It talks about all the chemical things that happen. Like, because it's like hyper stimulating. Porn is hyper stimulating. They exaggerate things and they focus an emphasis on things that in the real world, like, it doesn't happen that way or at that pace or at that extremity. But because they do that and it's constant, then there's the connection with the normal release that happens that normally goes along with watching porn. I think you know what I'm talking about. There's this connection and you form this like standard in your brain where it has to be like this and it has to go like this, and you become desensitized. Um, and I mean, this is the first time in history where we've had this possibility. I mean, think like back 100 years, or even just before the internet. You know, how many experiences did people have or watch in their lifetime? And then now thinking of like one person and how many different scenes they see of porn, how many of those types of images have they've been exposed to, and those feelings, because it affects you, it arouses you, and that's a good thing, as we heard from Hannah. All right, so we'll watch this, and then I'm gonna get off. I wasn't expecting to go this long, but gotta go with the flow. I don't want to tell people to not watch porn, but I think people should get educated on how it's made and how it affects people around the world. Yeah, I mean, there's that argument, and that can be good enough for people. Like, just like the vegan argument, like, look how they treat animals. Don't you now want to become a vegetarian or a vegan? Like, isn't it just obvious to you now? When in reality, like, people are still buying the clothes and the shoes from basic work camps in China and stuff. You know, the factories. People still buy, even though they know. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, or you should, but just like that type of knowledge sometimes isn't good enough, because it is something so extreme and it becomes so addictive. Like, it just has that nature about it that it almost becomes like one of those things where you're like, well, I'm not even going to think about the consequences of this. I'm just going to do it. So there's that. But then I think people who actually want to always be improving and understanding more about themselves and doing taking the better road, choosing the better option for themselves, excuse me, and for the people around them. You know, those type of people, maybe they can be more convinced of the effects and the experiences of other people, or just being aware of their own experiences, because some people don't even want to, you know, realize what's happening in themselves. What baffles me are people who, oh, these things hurt so bad. One day I'll have a microphone right here. What baffles me are people who point out how bad porn is, but then say, I don't want to tell people not to watch it and it shouldn't be outlawed. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, if it's something bad, objectively bad, like if there's some sort of underage thing going on, which does happen, but it's kind of, no one wants to investigate, and we're not really in the position to investigate it. Not unless it's something like that that's evident. I mean, anybody with the power to outlaw it, you know, they're not going to do that unless it's something evident, unless they're looking into it. But I've always thought that, you know, you have to let people choose what they want to do, even if it's a bad option, even if it's something that you don't necessarily agree with, because sometimes people, not that it's the best option. I mean, it'd be great if we just instinctively had all the knowledge and all the willpower to do everything in the perfect way, you know. But some people need to go through certain experiences to understand what's better for them, if that makes sense. Not that that's ideal, not that it's a throwaway, like, you know, you just have to let everybody do whatever they want so that they come to not know, but it does happen. So you don't want to, be that person who tells other people what to do. But I don't know. It's like my perspective is it's not beneficial in any way, and actually it has detrimental effects in our lives. So I would prefer that other people are able to see that and to make a better decision for themselves. Just like someone who eats healthy, who sees everyone around them going to McDonald's. Like, I would prefer that they don't do that, but like, I'm not going to tell them not to do it. Like, who am I to tell them not to do it? I don't know if that makes sense. Ow, these are really hurting my ears. Oh, I'm such a pansy. That must be why I left the priesthood and I'm gay, because I can't take the pain. Oh. Jordan Peterson.
It's like Treasure Island in Pinocchio. It's all pleasure.
I love Pinocchio. I love Pinocchio. I want to see it again. I'm going to see if my boyfriend wants to watch it. I love Pinocchio. All right.
With no responsibility. That's dead.
He's so good. All right, listen to this.
It's like Treasure Island in Pinocchio. It's all pleasure with no responsibility.
It's all pleasure with no responsibility. You can just take that. Ow. Gosh. You can just take that concept and just go with that. You're just like on the side, but you're also imagining yourself that you're a part of it, and but you don't have any responsibility. There's no real connection that you're having with somebody. Like, you're almost shielded from any. Like, you can just, like, when you're done, you just can turn it off, even if they're not finished. Even that's not probably the best example. The recent Josh Duggar criminal case covers how the illegal stuff is prosecuted. It's pretty messed up, but I'm glad that there's a system in place to stop the production of illegal porn. Can you tell me, like, where I can find a documentary on that? I've seen videos, but I'd like to see, if you have a good video suggestion.
That's deadening. It's parasitical in a sense, and I don't mean that. I'm not making a value judgment. I mean, it's no wonder the young guys are caught up in this, because it's an unbelievably powerful technology.
Like, there must be something good in porn, or people wouldn't do it. Like, there must be something that's beneficial, even if it's at a lower level, but there must be something that people are getting out of it, or people wouldn't do it. Obviously.
It drove the development of the internet, let's not forget, right? So it taps into one viciously primordial motivation. And so these guys are being blasted by what biologists call super stimuli all the
Super stimuli. So that's what I'm talking about with the, like, exaggeration, the altered body parts to accentuate certain features that are more that we're drawn towards. What do you guys think? Do you think that more men than women are affected by porn? Do you think it's mostly men? And why do you think that?
time. So imagine that there's a biological stimulus that has an effect on you, and then you can magnify it. And the typical porn actress, not the amateurs, but the professionals, have
Wonder if they're like, so we're gonna film you for this video. She doesn't look like a porn actress, the way she's dressed. She's like, they told me I was gonna play a businesswoman, but now they're putting porn actress in words over my face. Emily D. Baker breaks down the legal side of the case very well. I love her. No, I watch her, Emily Baker. I really like how, like, her attitude towards things, and she's very clear and she has her feet on the ground. Like, she's the type of person I'd love to go have a drink with and talk about things. Thank you.
Of their sexually provocative.
I'm sorry. If this image is a temptation for you, I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. Wait, there we go. Is that better for everyone? Is that... I'll keep my screen like this so nobody's tempted. Alright, just kidding.
Physical elements exaggerated. And so men are very visual in terms of their sexual processing. And so...
Oh wait, this isn't the original video, so someone created this video. Gotcha. Men are visual. Let's listen to that again.
And so, you know, the guys are pulled into it, and they're pulled into it also by curiosity, but I think that ethics...
That was my reason, curiosity. It was curiosity that really got me going. I was like, I just want to... I didn't know the Pandora's box that I was opening. That would basically affect my life after that. Basically was a determining element of the decisions that I made and everything. But porn makes me feel good after working when I can just sit and relax and yeah, well thank you, because porn effed my life. Literally and figuratively. Thank you. Thank you for making porn so accessible.
It's not good. It's not
ethically it's not good. Sometimes things are just that simple.
Good. It's an easy out. That's the other thing. You know, what you should be doing is going out and finding someone to have a relationship.
It is easy. It's easy. I think about this with food sometimes. I'm like, oh, I just want something easy. I don't feel like cooking. I don't feel like, let's just go get a burger. Let's just go get fries. Let's go get a hot dog. It's easy. And it's not that good for you. In porn, it's just easy. Like, oh, I have to release. Every day I have to release. I have to. It affects me if I don't release. Why? Why is it like that? Why have we normalized all of that? Is it biological that we need to release, especially as men, every day, multiple times a day? I mean, is that, because if that's biological, if that's something that actually we're designed to do, like in the sense of our like what we're made of, like that's how we've evolved, and you know, that's being a human. You know, if that's what it is, it's like, all right, well, what can I say against that?
Relationship with. And if you can gratify yourself with no transformation, but let's say you can't find some...
Okay, this is something that I've noticed. Oh, this is something that I've noticed. You know, I don't know about you guys and gals, but there's like a natural like build-up and then it's like, oh, I just gotta, and then it's over. I'm trying to be as general as possible, but then it's like, meh, like I'm done. I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to, and you just kind of like, and how many people are like living that? Like that's their existence. They're like, well, why do I need someone else? Or why do I need to get in a relationship? Or why, just, and then it's over. It's a build up, release, over. I can do it all by myself. I mean, if sex is all about self-gratification, then why not? Why not just do that and not be with someone else? Or be with a million partners? Why not? Why not? It's all about gratification. Because it feels good. I mean, is that really is that it? Is that it in life? Is that all we have? Just feeling good for a second, and that's it. Like, is that the limit? The cap? There's nothing more? I'm talking to you, guys and gals, because these are things that I'm thinking about. Like, I'm not telling you. I'm not standing on a podium. Remember that. It's not. I'm expressing ideas that I have, so they're going to be all over the place and probably not be fleshed out or anything. But anyway.
Someone. Well, then you might say that's an indication you should change. Mm-hmm. It is, in fact, an indication that you should change, because what better what better indication are you going to get than that no one wants to be intimate with you? Right. It's the ultimate rejection, and that's partly why men are terrified of it, and I understand that. And I also understand.
I love the image of the guy being rejected. It's probably for like some other type of video. Like what's it called when you have like you just make videos and you can apply it to different things. Anyway. So being rejected, like it's easier to just have that gratification and that kind of like fantasy rather than go out and be rejected.
Understand the MGTOW guys, who are just recommending that men don't enter into long-term permanent relationships with women. I understand where they're coming from, although I called them pathetic weasels a while back.
No comment.
Well, they're providing a lot of young guys who need a kick to go out there. They're giving them a rationale. Yeah, and I've seen this have very detrimental effects on a number of people already, and partly in my clinical practice, because these guys, the young guys who aren't...
That's really interesting. So it's like, if you're not having success, then I'm going to give you, instead of maybe improving things or seeing why you're having those type of issues, gosh, how many people say like, I just haven't met someone who accepts me, or I just haven't found that person, when it's like how many times have you been dating, and it's like, why does it always end this way? Why does it always have this outcome, like, a high and then a low, or like what's going on? The problem is outside, always. Remember that. The problem is... No, look at yourself. See what's going on. Who's perfect?
Aren't successful. They're looking for a reason why women are terrible, because otherwise they have to think, well, they're just not presentable, which is what they do have to think, because that's almost the definition of presentable, right? So, and then the MGTOW guys give them a rationale. We are in a gynocentric world, and females have got control, and they'll like...
I have to... I'm gonna... Let's see. Oh, now I get it. I didn't know what that meant. MGTOW is an anti-feminist, misogynistic, mostly online community advocating for men to separate themselves from women and from a society which they believe has been corrupted by feminism. Okay, now I get it. Now I get it. Thank you, Neo. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at each individual person. But I imagine there's people there who are like, I just got to point at someone else as the cause and the reason. Like if you say like, feminists are destroying women and I cannot find a good woman. It's like, really, every single woman out there is that horrible thing that you're saying? Like, really? Every single... I mean, I can imagine just in that description, which I don't think is very, like a very... it's obviously political. Anti-feminist, misogynistic community. Like, it's obviously coming from someone who's wanting to express them in a negative light. And I'm sure that there's people from all different, like, different ideas, different reasons. And I'm sure it's only for a time, too. Yeah, that's a good... I don't look at groups. I see individuals and go from there. Thank you, Neo. I'm excited about The Matrix, and your name is reminding me of The Matrix. I hated the the second movies. There were interesting elements to them, but the first one was like, for culturally, personally, and the fourth one, from what I've seen, like they have like some political stuff thrown in there, and you can tell just by the language and like the characters, and you're like, oh no, they're gonna try to bring that in, but they have it's possible that they use those in a intelligent way. So we'll see. We'll see what it's like.
Wipe you out if they have the opportunity. It's like, well, some females will do that to some guys some of the time, and sometimes it's brutal. I've had clients who've been dragged through the court systems and just ruined, and I was unable to help them. I did everything I could to maneuver and negotiate and plan and strategize so carefully to get them to do everything right, and it didn't help. I mean...
All right. I thought we were talking about porn.
Of sexual utilization of pornographic material, but I would still say, seeing all that it's not a net social good. It doesn't do the people who produce it or who consume it any good, and I don't believe that anyone feels like a better human being after utilizing pornography for sexual gratification.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that idea? That you don't feel good. I'm sure you must have helped a few people to die during your priesthood. Did you have the opportunity to learn something about life and death then? I don't appreciate the, like, whatever. It's that whole thing, like you said. I think it was Maria that said, or no, it was ex-Catholic who said that it's like, if you would have known, if you would have had that secret knowledge, if you would have just stayed in and gotten the next step, or if you obviously didn't have the full understanding, you obviously didn't know, like, okay, if that's the conclusion, I mean, okay, if that's what you want to believe, that's fine. But what do you think about this? Do you think that that's something that's common, that people don't, it's like, it's not, it might be like a release, pornography might be a release, it might, like, there's that stimulation, that feeling, but then that feeling of emptiness that comes afterwards. I've heard so many people say that, not just in the religious community, but even outside, like even after masturbating, it's like you just feel like, oh, like I've heard that so many times. And is that a good reason to say like is it a benefit? Because that's his perspective. Like, is this benefiting people? A net benefit.
Now you might say, well, that's because they've been shamed about sex since they're born, and and that's a consequence of our crooked culture, and in a utopian world we wouldn't have that.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying. So we've been taught to feel ashamed about sex. So that's the reason why.
Shame and no. It's way more complicated than that.
Okay, tell me.
And I read something in...
Tell me what you think. Yeah, it's good. It's good when you watch people, even people that you agree with most of the things that they say, to always just really be critical of what they're saying, not criticize them as a person, not condemn them as a person because you don't agree with maybe something that they say, but to just not just be like, I like Jordan Peterson, therefore I agree with every single thing that comes out of his mouth, or that has come out of his mouth, that's coming out of his mouth now, and that will come out of his mouth in the future. That's ridiculous.
One of the YouTube comments in my video the other day, I was talking to Abigail Schreier about the apparent fact that today's teenagers are having much less sex. One person commented that there's the...
Whoever did the subtitles?
shame that men feel when sex is a spectator sport rather than a participatory act. And then you think, well, the mere fact that you're watching two other people, one of whom isn't you, having sex instead of having sex, really implies something either about it implies something about your desirability.
Do you hear the loudspeaker outside? What do you think about that? What he just said? Like, just, think about yourself watching porn in the past, a moment that you watched porn. Because I know you did. And God did, because He's watched you every second, even in the dark. All right. So, think of yourself watching porn. Now, go out of yourself and look down at what is really happening. You are looking at a screen of two other people having the act of sex and apparently being gratified by it. Probably not. Probably not. But apparently, and enjoying it, and you're gratifying yourself by watching them. That is bizarre. That is really bizarre. Just thinking about what's happening. Sometimes we go out of ourselves in the way that we're sucked into the screen and we forget about reality. But it's just think of what's actually happening. That's kind of creepy. It's like you're a peeping Tom. You're looking through the window. That's creepy. That's weird. I don't know, it's just an idea. Just throwing out ideas. Yeah, me too. Neo.
It's pretty hard to shake that, isn't it? Or your courage. Why is it that you're sitting there alone at night with your laptop on your lap?
Because God told me that I can't have sex before I get married, but I'm homosexual, so I'll never get married, so I have to go to the priesthood, so I'll never have sex. That's why. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that.
What the hell's wrong with you? Well, nothing. It's just we should dispense with sexual shame. It's like, no. probably not. That's probably not the answer. Well, so that was all, why do people have a hard time negotiating about sex or talking about it? Well, it's no bloody wonder. Sex is such dynamite.
Sex is... Do you think... do you think that some people want to bring sex down to a level, or, okay, I'll frame it in this way. The conception of sex in today's culture is on par. The necessity of sex is on par with the necessity of food. It's just a desire, something that needs to be gratified. Some impulse that needs to have expression. Is that the level that people, they try to see it in that level and try to make it that sterile? I don't know another word to say. Like, just keep it at that level. Because then it's like, then you can just throw it around like it's nothing. But the reality is, it's something so powerful. I mean, I know that, like, mukbangs and all these things, like watching people eat and food porn. I mean, there's something about that, like watching food and wanting food and, but sex and porn is something so much more powerful. I'll generalize for a second. The right have a problem talking about sex. The left overall doesn't. That is generalizing, but I don't know. I think it's more like conservative. But I don't know, like, I don't know, man. Just thinking about, like, because I'm somebody who's like, like, in my mind, I can't just stay in these, like, what's better, this or this? And then I'm just going to stay there. Like, I have to think, like, no, what is better? Like, what is the better option? It's probably not either of those options, like, in general. You don't want to generalize things, but, like, what is a good, healthy perspective to have about all these things? Like, what is a good perspective in that? That's what I'm after. I mean, I know that in my house, sex was something that was talked about, but like my parents were nurses, like I said, but that's it. It wasn't a subject of conversation, but I know families that were even like almost convinced that it didn't exist. It shouldn't exist. That there should just be a bubble wrapped around the child until they're married one day, and then boom, they just know exactly what to do and all that, and there's no problems after that.
Well, I gave some advice a little earlier about quitting alcohol, and I would say it isn't that you're trying to quit porn. It's not the right way to think about it. The right way to think about it is that you're trying to figure out how to have a better life. And so you have to figure out, well, I would say do the future authoring program and keep your porn addiction in mind and think. So in the first part of the...
this is so good. This is why I like Jordan Peterson, because he reminds me a lot of people from my past that inspired me to do great feats in my life, to go out of myself and prove to myself that I was capable of more, and reaching actual limits and crossing those limits and thinking that I couldn't go further, and what I'm saying is he puts things in perspective. It's like, porn's bad for you, so I'll quit it. It's like, well, no, don't think of it like that. Think of it like, I want to live a good life. Think of the big picture. You want to not just live and exist and have, stimuli and gratification and just moment after moment of this thing, and then you go to the next thing, and then you're just living on this level that other sentient beings live through, and that's the level that you're at. Okay, but if you want to live a good life, which comes into play the idea of what is a good life, which is another subject, but just in the common nomenclature, good life, full life, then it's like, put it in perspective. Does this action fit into that vision that I have for my life that's possible to reach? I think my good life was impossible to reach in my past, but that's another subject. I don't know. I think that's a good way to think. To always have this big picture. We don't have a big picture nowadays in today's culture. It's like, does it feel good? Then do it.
The Future Authoring Program, it asks you a bunch of questions about...
All right, I think he's going to talk about his thing. All right, well, it has been 2 hours and 40 minutes. Holy cow. I was not expecting this. All right. I think I'm going to go. I have to start making dinner. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. And whoever watches this afterwards, thank you for making it this far. Thank you for giving me your ear. And I appreciate everyone's comments and talking about it. I'm not like one of those YouTubers who's like, I respond to the first comment and then I just stop. Like, I always want to talk with people and engage with people and not just... I mean, that's the benefit of not having a lot of followers. Yeah, thanks, Neo. So yeah, have a good Christmas, and maybe later on in the week I'll do another live, but probably not for 3 hours. Probably just an hour. We'll see what happens. But anyway, happy Christmas, or happy holiday, if that offends you. I celebrate Christmas because I like Christmas. But happy Christmas, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.